So OpenAI released O3 and O4 mini, and these models actually pushed the AI game quite a bit. They are a clear improvement on their previous models, but you also have to keep in mind that they also cost the same as the previous models, so this is just straight up pro. And they especially stand out in the coding benchmark, as we can see here as well. So almost like that's pretty much like a 20-point gain on the SVA bench verified software engineering. Sure. And an interesting benchmark they have here is the SVA Lancer. So this essentially, they have a bunch of tasks that they gather from Upwork, and they just try it out if AI can just do it on its own. And this is actually pretty indicative of whether you can use it as a worker. Now, almost certainly with expert supervision, but still. And apparently O3 High made the most money. But also, you just have to look at the step. So previously, whatever promises we had of like AI is gonna do all the work, it was not really manifesting. In fact, personally, I would say that before Gemini 2.5 Pro came out, AI just seemed like, I'm not making claims about the future, but up to that point, AI just seemed like a very useful helper. And arguably at the initial phases, it was partly a hindrance. But with the high-end models, I could feel like I'm the helper. So let's proceed. Let's jump on the Ader Polyglot benchmark too, which we can see over here, dominated by Gemini 2.5 Pro, with 73% correct answers, and also reasonable cost. Yet they're here claiming that O3 is 81% correct, and even O4 mini high is 69% correct. It's actually interesting that it's less correct in the diff mode. That's very interesting. Although you would want to use the diff mode, and that is the ideal way to have an AI, because you don't want the entire thing just sent back to you. You just want to essentially whole and diff. The difference is that diff simply returns the parts it changed, and then I guess it gets replaced. So practically the main difference is that I guess the whole mode would be slower and also more costly. It's kind of interesting to see such a massive gap between them, and gotta keep in mind that this is their data. Also, if you use it in the high mode, then it's gonna spend more time thinking as well. But it's not a massive improvement upon O3 mini high. So kind of interesting, because here we see that 17,000 earned by O3 mini high, but over here O4 mini high is earning 56,000. So I don't get it. Well, seemingly their score is near identical. Cost-wise, they're not really presenting O4 that favorably. Essentially, they did not get cheaper. They only got a little bit better. And in fact, O3 got a lot better compared to O1. So that is clearly the star here. Yet, let's assume that everything they presented is absolutely true. So in that case, O3 would be over here, coming in at 81%, while the new O4 mini would still come below Gemini 2.5 Pro. But you gotta keep in mind one thing, that assuming that you're dealing with bigger context, that almost certainly Gemini 2.5 Pro is going to be superior than even O3, because it can actually see the context, while O3 is limited by the 200k context window. Another important point is that O1, as we can see, the price is quite a bit. Now, I don't want to be too caught up on the prices, right? As long as the AI is good value, and that could make sense. Like a lot of people use, for example, Claude 3.7, even though it was kind of pricey, but they felt like that it was worth the cost. Yet still, O1 and its new version, O3, still gives you pause. Because just this example, just this problem, the difference is between $6 and 186. And O4 Mini is not that well positioned either. Even though it is cheaper, it's interesting that this has the same pricing as O4 Mini will have. And this is actually using diff mode, so that's more efficient. Still, the point I'm getting at is that even though this is priced lower, it still costs more than Gemini 2.5 Pro. Because presumably it spends a lot of time thinking, which just burns tokens. But possibly this wouldn't be not true for the new version, at which point it would be pretty damn competitive compared to Gemini 2.5 Pro. But the most probable outcome that Gemini 2.5 Pro is almost certainly gonna be better, especially if you consider the context window. Yeah, truly the most likely situation that it's gonna cost somewhere around this, because we can see that Claude 3.7 and Claude 3.7 Sonnet Thinking, the difference is the thinking model costs double because it spends tokens thinking. So the price could be a little deceptive, but I gotta say that O3 Mini and the new O4 Mini High are easily one of the most, the most competitive model and the commercially relevant model that OpenAI has. And while it's kind of cool to snatch the top of the leaderboard again, and here you can see that OpenAI is taking 4 out of 5 places on the top of the leaderboard. Pretty damn impressive. But when it comes to models that actually get used, like suppose using OpenRouter here as a reference, then they are not as dominant. So again, the question would be price here. And OpenAI clearly loves the story where they clench defeat from the jaws of victory just by their pricing alone. Because these models are pretty cool. But I guess we see. If you just want them for coding, then my recommendation currently would be just to use Gemini 2 Pro, the free version, I suppose. And you can also just chat with it as much as you like. You don't need to pay anything. But O4 Mini High certainly seems like a tempting alternative, at least for coding. And for many other tasks, you might not even need the most intelligent AI. And in terms of O3, I'm not sure. It's kind of cool that it exists. It's not really a model for grunt work that I usually do. So let's just see if someone can leverage its smarts to make us all immortal or something.